on the line right now. Hey guys, how are you?
Great. Thank you for that introduction.
Oh, no problems.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Well, I'm just speaking the truth. I mean, there's not too many people that are out there. I think that comes from not necessarily a Tin Pan Alley sort of songwriting, um, but more of a kind of Randy Newman slash Broadway Ben Folds kind of a songwriting. And it's so good to kind of hear that kind of stuff on the charts.
Thank you so much. Chad and I are songwriters at heart. We kind of stumbled into singing our songs in a way because I wasn't even singing when I met Chad, and he kind of pushed me to do it, and it turned into something that we couldn't even dream of 10 years ago. So thank you. That means a lot when you talk about the songs, and we want to be as honest and open and vulnerable in songwriting as we possibly can, and we hope we continue to do that with this last album that just came out.
You guys met when you were in New York University when you were attending the Steinhardt music program. Did you want to be musicians, or did you want to work on the other side of the industry?
This is Chad speaking. I actually didn't think I was going to be a musician. I was ready to be like a CEO of a record label.
Oh, good for you.
That was my path, and then and then I met Ian, and then we started writing together, and I was like, oh, maybe we should do something together.
Yeah, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just knew I needed to be with music. And when you put the word business to music, it sounds like an easier major to digest for family and for yourself. It seems safer for some reason. But yeah, I mean, then I found Chad.
At least that you're not cynical by knowing exactly where the money is going to as part of the industry rather than the performer.
Right, but it all comes down to the song, where at the end of the day, no matter what we do and where we end up, as long as we can write songs, we're super grateful to have that ability. And every time we write a song, we're so thankful that we just wrote it because we have no idea where it comes from or how to do it.
Have you ever tried to actually figure out, because when you're writing a song, do you chase it, or do you always have your ears open listening for lines around you that people have said or moments in your life?
During writing sessions, there definitely comes a moment that feels inspired and feels like the song is taking you, and you're kind of just riding the wave. And then there are moments where you're like, it's peaked, and you're trying to get back on the wave, and it's hard to get back on the wave, so you kind of have to just wait for inspiration to hit again.
Is it frustrating when that happens? I can only imagine that you're kind of getting into a groove. You know that you're sitting in the studio, the clock is ticking. When you finally say to yourself or to one another, you know what, I'm done, the song could be finished, or let's just leave it alone for a while. That's got to be, for a creator, I think you've got to kind of be at peace with knowing that if it's going to come, it'll come.
Yeah, some of the songs actually on our first album, they were ideas that we had started years, like 3 or 4 years before we finished them.
Like what?
And that we just like Rockstar.
Rockstar, the opening cut of Is There Anybody Out There?
Yeah. And that song we wrote the little piano hook and the melody and one of the lyrics like 3 or 4 years before we finished the song, and we just tried to keep going back to it but couldn't finish it, so we just kind of left it there until it wanted to write itself.
And then there's a song like Hold Each Other. Actually, we were in a session with our friend Dan Romer, and we were writing a song that we were all like hitting our heads against the wall, like couldn't figure out how to crack this one. And then the session was ending like in an hour or two, so Dan Romer was like, you know what, why don't we go somewhere else? So he just started playing the 4 chords that you hear in Hold Each Other, and Hold Each Other was like came out of nowhere. It came out in those last few hours of that session.
But with a song like Hold Each Other, it shows both a straight and a gay perspective on love. And did you did you kind of have an inkling that you wanted to get this song out? Meaning that you needed to have the topic idea first and then come up with the song, or was it just a little bit of a mixture of both?
We had it wasn't our intent to to shed light on the male and female pronouns. It was we were just writing a love song, you know, and didn't really think too much of it. And then I was walking back to my apartment from Chad's. We live right down the block from each other, and I was like, "How is Chad going to sing this song?" Because it was the first song that we had ever written that had a female pronoun in it, and we always trying to divide the lyrics is pretty difficult for us. So
hold on, Ian. You have to say that this is when the song existed only as the chorus being "Something happens when I hold her."
Right.
Yeah. And then I was like, "How is Chad gonna sing it?" And basically, I was like, "Dude, you gotta sing him. You have to. Just try it. Just try it. That's the only way this is gonna work. That we're gonna be able to sing this song together and remain truthful." And when Chad sang "Something Happens When I Hold Him," I got the chills, and it just hit me so hard. And I'm not used to hearing that in songs, and neither is Chad. And we ran towards it because the very fact that it's an issue. It's a problem, and we're really proud to have a song that anyone can relate to, regardless of their sexuality.
Let's talk a little bit about Everyone is Gay, because it's working in conjunction with one of your friends' websites.
Yeah, so we have a couple of friends run a website called everyoneisgay.com, and they approached us when they wanted to put out a compilation album filled with the gayest songs ever, and they wanted us to write one of them. So that was sort of our challenge, and it was an amazing writing process because it was at least for me it was like I was speaking to that kid who was bullied in middle school and who never got to hear or feel comforted by words like what we hope to put out with that song, and that it doesn't matter your sexuality.
Do you think it's gotten worse? Do you think bullying and the mixture of sexuality being up front and center in a lot of people's minds, not so much of a defining of who you are, but because it's possible to know so much about everyone else through websites and Tumblr and whether it's dating sites or Twitter. I remember kind of getting, harassed as a kid, but I think most people did. I've never seen the amount of hate that sometimes people can get over, I think, things that should be celebrated, whether somebody is coming out or whether they're working their way towards transgenderism. It's just amazing that just because you have an opinion, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should be sharing it to the world sometimes. Not in a positive way, but in a negative way. Like, if you don't, you know what, you don't like it, shut up.
I think that the issue of the whole sexuality topic is definitely more public and more in mainstream media, and it's becoming. I think it's becoming more accepted, but it's also shedding light on the negatives and the hate side of it, and allowing those people to also be able to speak. It's interesting. It's when we're traveling all over the country, we're lucky to live in New York City, but even here it's still an issue. But it just reminds us that we need to keep spreading these messages, and especially when we play in places like a show in the South, in Huntsville, Alabama, in the States, or even we played one show in Salt Lake City, and it was a show for Mormons. It was mostly Mormons that were at the show, and we were told not to play Everyone is Gay, but we played it anyway. I don't know that it's getting worse. I just think that this is a roundabout answer, but
yeah. But for me, like when I grew up in Florida, I had zero exposure to gay people. Like where the town I grew up in, there wasn't one gay person I had ever met until I went to college, and I actually saw two men kiss. and it's, for me, it's the exposure element that I'm hoping that we're adding to. I'm hoping that we're actually able to make kids comfortable with it, because if I had been exposed to it back in middle school and high school, I wouldn't have been so afraid of it. And hopefully we can diminish the fears of these kids who are still in the closet.
Wouldn't it be amazing if, when you were growing up in Florida, everybody that you knew was gay, but they just kind of left you out of it because you were actually hetero?
I have dreams of my of walking into a diner and seeing my biggest bully sitting across from his gay lover.
Let me ask you something about when you have a hit like Say Something, and it's just so massive. It's career defining for as positive and negative as you can come to accepting it. It will forever be one of your biggest songs. When you're starting to write for the new record, does it ever creep up in you that it's almost like you want to get back to writing in a formula sort of a way in order to have a hit again like that? Like, can you pinpoint or break it down as songwriters of why that song became a hit, and you can kind of bring it to other songs? I guess if it was that easy, everybody would keep on having the same hits.
Yeah, so Say Something. We never wrote songs to be hits. We never. If you would have asked us back then, what song on this album that we're about to put out has the most chance of being a quote unquote hit song, that was the last song on the list, right? So, looking back at it, that was one of the most emotionally intense writing experiences of our lives. Maybe the most emotional writing experience. We were experiencing pretty deep pain, and that was a huge. That song was a huge part of both of our healing processes. So I don't know. Looking back at it, that was incredibly vulnerable of us to write that song and put that out there, and it was really simple as well, and it wasn't overcomplicated. It was just piano and a voice. It didn't have all these tracks and noise. It was just the noise of it was the silence between the notes.
Yeah.
So I think moving forward, it's just okay. We have to keep being honest and vulnerable and genuine with our songwriting, and that's all that we can do. And that could be the only song that. Who knows if we'll ever have a song like that again? But we can't get caught up in that part of it.
Isn't it amazing that when you're, as a songwriter, when you dig deep, and a lot of songwriters, almost all of them, will try to do that, except if you're kind of situated in the pop world where maybe, you might have other people writing for you. But, even in the 70s and 60s, all the songwriters will say that, at your most vulnerable moment, at the moment when you think that there's no way that you could actually tell somebody else what you're going through, you sit down, you press record, you do the song, and it turns out that 4 million people feel the same way that you do. That's an amazing thing music can do, right?
You remind me of, do you know Rachel Platten's Fight song?
The Fight song.
So we've been friends with Rachel for a long time, and she wrote that song because she had been doing this for so long.
She was going to give up, right? That was like her.
Yeah, she was
her I'm Done song.
Exactly, and it was like, no, there was something inside of her that came out deep within her and was like, no, I'm gonna keep fighting, and I'm gonna keep doing this. And it was a real moment, and it was her, and it was this intention behind that song, and all of a sudden it completely changed everything for her and hit people so hard all over the world. So it's just, it's like she wasn't trying to write a hit song, and those are the songs that stand the test of time.
The brand new album is called When the Morning Comes. It's Ian and Chad, who are known as A Great Big World. Guys, thank you so much for this. Thank you for the music. Thank you for digging deep into so many amazing topics.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you.
Coming up next, 5440.